Hello. I'm with you again. This is a continuation from part 5 of 5. This will be part 5 of 6 of a series, How I Met God. And I'm going to take off from where I left off in part 5. I was speaking to you about how God saved you. You go through all the changes. God delivered me from a lot of things. And it seems like the hurt that I experienced after receiving Christ became more intense than even the hurt that I was in before I met Christ, due to people that say they had God. And I really had to refocus a lot of things, because I realized that it really wasn't a focus that I needed to be on. Didn't matter how people treated you, but it was pretty bad. Anyway, I was asking God about little children and how, if He cares about the smallest little things that we go through, why is it that we as children, even the children that we have to suffer so much? And God reminded me that knowledge of Him, coming into the understanding of who He is, how to have relationships, expectations of those relationships, being able to connect to an understanding of relationships is when a person is able to receive Christ for themselves. As a child, I was taught about God. I learned about God. My father was a bishop, preacher, whatever you want to call him. My mother played the organ, and she was one of the missionaries in the church. And we were kids, and we were taught to pray. Yes, we were taught to pray. And we were lined up on the benches in the church, and we learned to shout and cry and snot and spit and scream and cry and really praise God. But when we went home, there was a whole other story. There was this person up on the pulpit there that was preaching kindness and love and gentleness about God, and then he would come home and it'd be a house of fear, a house of torment, even upon my mother, who suffered a lot. And I didn't see myself with him as my God, because of all those interactions in relationships that I had with other people who had him. And as I said before, the very messenger who warned me about the envy of other saints, once you come into God with this kind of zeal that I had, would be there tearing me down because of the envy. I remember in the book of Ezekiel, the 8th chapter, where God was telling Ezekiel how describing the minds and the hearts of people right in the church of God, and how He opened the hole in the north gate of the wall of the building, and He was showing this cave inside the hole in the wall, and He asked Ezekiel to stick his hand in the wall, and he stuck his hand in the wall, and he felt creepy, crawly, nasty, gutty kind of things in there. And God told him to take a closer look. He got a closer look, and he opened the wall even more, and was able to look in and see all the bugs and the crap that was on the cave of the walls, and there was just no room for any smoothness because of these bugs. And God was saying that this is what's in the heart of my people. I'm showing you the heart of the people who are sitting here saying that I am their God. The women have a god of Moab, which is a god of evil, god of possession and seduction, a god of material things and envy and jealousy. And men were after the things of flesh and money. And He was showing Ezekiel those things in the Bible, and after I went through some of the things I went through when I met God, I couldn't understand. Like, I really, like, I thought, hey, we're in a new generation. We're a new group of people. We have a different mentality. But when I really looked at it, I found that we were no different than the people back in the day, during the time of Christ. Our mentality, our greed, our jealousy, our envious, our fight, our war, just the fleshy things. And so I had to get with God about me. It was all about God and me. It was all about Him and me. And that's where He wanted my focus, to be about me and Him. I did go through traumatic war, trying to just be me, trying to just live with God, the God I just met. I experienced it so much that sometimes I wondered if I should even stay in this. But you know what? Once you accept Christ, you don't have a lot of choice. You just can't walk away. You'll never be able to walk away. Once you meet God for real, really meet God, you can never be the same again. You will never be how you were before you met Him. Even if you decide you don't want to walk the walk, walk the talk, you will still never be the same. And so I dealt with it. I chose because I thought, hey, anything is better than where I was. Anything is better than where I was. I was in the hospitals. I was trying to get some relief. I even wanted to die at some point. I just hated life. Talk about hating God, I hated life. I didn't even like it. It was just so much hurt involved. Even from a child up, it was just so much pain. But when I really met Him, and how I met Him was an important factor in my life that gave me change, gave me a made-up mind to transform myself. And therefore, I did work on it very hard with God. I got through the cigarette part, which I told you about. I was able to break all my bad habits and attachments to substance outside of me. I did pick up other things like sugar habits, I wanted sweet things, and then I wanted to do other things that made me feel happy, but I was unsocialized, so it was hard for me to connect to people that were headed in the same direction as I was, or even where I was at some given time. So I wound up to a place where it was just me and God. I ate my sugary sweets, and I stayed in my house, and I just stayed there. And I stayed there because the history that I had had with people became my life story. No one wanted me to change, and no one would allow me to change in their eyes. It was always my history being told as my future. Someone was always telling my story for me. To mutual friends that I had, someone would tell them their side of my story to get a view so they have an idea of who I am in their eyes. I didn't get that chance to be who God had newly created me to be. So my struggles became very, very great. Very great. I got to a point where I isolated between me and God, just me and Him. I isolated to the point that I got to know Him, like for real, I got to know Him. I would sit in the house, I would play my guitar. As you know, I play my guitar, and I play this keyboard here, and I play my tambourine and my djembe, and I so eagerly like music. I draw pictures of music and paint and other stuff. As you saw in the background of some of my pictures, I'm working on some projects. But before I get to all of that, I just wanted to tell you that I was in my house on Christmas Day, and all my lights was on the tree. At first, I wasn't going to put the tree up because I was like, I don't have anything to buy anybody. I don't have anything that I could, put under it. Why have it, And then God spoke to me and said, put the tree up. Gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. Your tree is in your present. Not so much that your present will be under your tree. You should never forget what the principal matter is. And the principal matter is you keep your eyes on the prize concerning me. You just met me. I'm not about games. I'm about real life. And I want to help you. So focus yourself. You are in a position that many are not. You have this quiet time. You have this private time with me that you can really know me. So I did. I took that time and I put my tree up and I decorated it just like Christmas, you know. House was beautiful. The house, my apartment was set up nice and cozy and quiet. It was just me and God. And one day I was sitting in the living room and I was looking at the lights. No TV on, nothing, no music, nothing. Actually, I was sitting on the couch singing to God and reading the Bible. And I looked over at the tree and the lights were so sparkly. They were so bright and pretty, so many different colors. And God said, see me? You see me? I said, I see you. The beauty of everything that exists. The beauty of everything that is held together. The beauty of everything that is to be looked upon and enjoyed. Just those things of having this time and this period with God by myself to enjoy is heaven alone. It's heaven alone. And peace was there. Peace visited me. And happiness came in the door. And so, this settledness, just a real settledness. I actually played my guitar for years. I played it because I wanted to connect to something, to express who I am outside of everything else. I began to play the guitar. So I would write songs, play my guitar. I would read my Bible every day, and I'd be on my knees praying. And I would be there for hours. It wasn't like me and God would just sit and talk and it would be over and I'd ask some requests and it was it. No, it was like God was right there with me on my knees praying, and we was communing to the point that I didn't even want to get up half the time. I loved him. I love him now. I love God. And I think that he has put some people in my life, which I wanted to get to, that brought me from the stage of where I was to where I am, who helped me, socialized me, and supported me. MHA, which is the Mental Health Association, and Deb, I probably shouldn't say last name, but Deb is a counselor of mine, and then there were other people that came along from agencies that really gave me a leg to stand on. I am so appreciative of these people. When my family wasn't there, they were there. When my friends weren't there, they were there. When my children wasn't there, they were there. And when my mother and my father was not there, they were there, holding me up, supporting me, and making sure I had everything I need. What does that sound like? In the Bible says, when your mother and your father forsake you, then the Lord will take you up. So in other words, everybody was out of my life in a negative way. They were just in their world, and there was no understanding, no compassion. And here comes God, and he sends me these people who are spokespeople for him, who can help get me together. I struggle. I have a severe chronic post-traumatic stress disorder from my childhood. And I was often triggered by many of my relationships. So it was hard to sustain them, especially when you got other people who are just as sick as you are, who don't know you're healing, but they're still sick, and they're triggering, and we're triggering each other. And I asked God, I was like, Lord, I'm feeling all these feelings. I'm feeling the same way I was before I got saved. Only different is that I know I got you. I know you're there. I can feel a hope, a substance of hope, a ground to stand on, something solid. The people in my life are so wonderful. I love them. I literally love them. I call one of them Mom because she mentored me through some stuff that my mom probably could have done. Maybe not. Maybe if she didn't pass away, she probably would not have if she wasn't sick, because she was in a different place before she got sick. But I thank God for my mom, because when she did get sick, it was just me and her. At that point, big, huge family. And she has to deal with her sickness with the most sickest person. She had something physical going on. I had a lot mentally going on, and she was part of it. But then I was able to put myself aside and really show the gratitude that my mother needed to have from me as her daughter. She needed something at this point. And all the trauma, all the pain, all the abuse, all the thoughts, all the feelings of abandonment inside me, not so much that she physically abandoned me, but I had emotional abandonment issues, that she felt them through her sickness. We became best friends. And she said to a congregation one day, because I gave her, with a friend of mine, I asked to help get appreciation service going for my mom. And she helped this lady help me, and I love her so much to this day. My heart just belonged to her, and I can't really connect right now, but God knows I will never stop loving this woman. And she has been a mentor to this family in many, many ways. She's been a strong warrior woman. And I'll just say her name is Patricia. I won't give you her last name. So the people I love who hear this will know who I'm talking about, Pat. This lady is a warrior of the light. She has a beautiful heart and a beautiful soul, a prayer warrior that will arm herself against any enemy that stand up against the people that she loves. And she warred on behalf of her children. She warred on behalf of my mother and her children. And she warred on behalf of the people in the house of God that we all belong together with. And so this lady gave me the assistance of helping me give my mother this appreciation service. And just to draw this in a little bit and close it, my mom stood up in the pulpit and she said to me, God, I don't ask you for many favors, but I'd like to ask you this one favor, that whether my Rosie, she doesn't know you, but whether her husband or her children go, doesn't matter, that she knows you. What matters is that you saved my Rosie before I die. That's what's important to me, that you saved my Rosie. I love her. She is so sweet, and she does everything she can for me. Whether some of y'all know it or not, you know, you will regret this day. Because God, my mother preached a sermon about God not wanting some of you. Some of these, she's talking about the Christian people. God don't want some of you. Your house, your clothes, your shoes is going to be a witness against you one day. The very car you drive, the very bed you sleep in, the very things you wear will be a witness against you one day. So be careful what you entertain, because those things will be a witness against you. God is God. He's almighty. He's powerful. When people think that God does not exist, he exists. He surely showed himself to me. I cried, and I met him, and he stroked me, and he loved on me. It's almost like The Entity. If anyone ever saw the movie The Entity, it was a pretty violent movie, but the Spirit of God was there physically, but no one could see him but me. No one could hear him but me, because I was the only one there talking to him anyway. But I could feel him, I could talk to him, I could sit next to him, and we were loving on each other as daughter, as God. And he forgave me for my sins. And I opened up my heart, and I let him in, and he walked in. And so the next time I have this conversation with you about how I met God, I probably will have a little segment together about this sermon that my mother preached, so that I can show you exactly where she was with it. And I was not one to accept God so easily, not consciously anyway, not unconsciously anyway. But now I know the difference. There's a big difference. So I want to end this too with just saying real quickly, the real enemy of God is not Satan. The real enemy of God has become man. Man has traded places with the snake. The snake is now inside. and people are demon possessed with evil thoughts and evil actions and evil desires and lust and pride and arrogance and so many other things that make them choose bad choices. Just like good is God in those who accept God. Good is people who take pain, who tolerate things that they know is right, and they tolerate the opposition around them to do right and continue to do it anyway. It's when you love when it's hard to love. It's when you forgive when it's easier to be grudged someone. It's when you want to do right and you still accidentally do wrong, but the wrong does not supersede the right. This is God. This is God. The entity of spirit in man, the soul of man, is being worked through the process of this reality in this life, in this world. In Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, the Lord says that man is the enemy against man. Man is the enemy against man. In a writing I wrote earlier on, I read, God gave me an affirmation that man is the enemy against God, which is why we're here on earth. Earth did not just develop, like scientists say. I don't believe that a bug is born out of bacteria and just exists. This world is not a big ball of bacteria. We got billions of people here, and we got plants, and we got trees, and we got so many other things that something had to create it before it existed. Something had to exist to create this before it existed. And water is a part of God. Water is a part of God to the point that water is so powerful that we lock water up in pipes and put them in our houses, and we lock water up against the grids that hold water back from land to keep people safe so that they can live on this land. But water can come up and get you anytime it wants. Water can consume this whole entire planet if it wants. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and there was water on the firmament of the earth, and God told the water to remove itself and give the dry land space and let the firmament of the dry land be seen by him, received. And water moved and approved and backed up and gave up the dry land. Now, I believe in this. This is not fiction. It's not fiction. Tsunamis are not fiction, is it? Tsunamis took a lot of lives recently. The water just came up and got people, went back down to its normal size afterwards. And so I just wanted you to know that there's a power among us that we don't know of, that we think it's just things happening by chance. There's nothing happening by chance. Everything is ordained to happen. And so as we get through this, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my relationship with God and how I met him. And I will see you again, and we shall talk later. You have a great day. Bye-bye.